Hey guys, Tanner here on Monday morning, breaking in before your standard episode because we wanted to tell you that there was some recent news out of the courts that changes our conversation a little bit. On Monday morning, the courts ordered that the lottery that was previously scheduled for Tuesday will not be happening. Instead, the OCM is required to submit additional paperwork to the Court of Appeals to talk about some of the issues that were had during the application process and how they plan to move forward. I think our standard episode that we recorded on Friday, the conversations that we had with our guests and that we had in the studio are still true and perhaps ring even more true now with the decision out of the court. Regardless, we wanted to just break in and let you guys know ahead of time that that lottery that we're talking about a lot during the episode will not be moving forward. Instead, we'll be hearing more out of the Court of Appeals, likely sometime next week, but we don't exactly know yet. Make sure to follow throughout the rest of the week. We're going to be dropping episodes as we head into the holiday and afterwards of our and some of our friends' reactions to this, and we'll keep you updated as more news continues to come. But that's all we know for today. All right, here's the regular episode.
Today's episode of Northern Lights is presented by North Star Law Group, a trusted partner for small businesses in Minnesota's legal cannabis industry. Whether you've already applied for a license or just getting started, attorney Jen Riza and her team can help you build a compliant business, identify and navigate risks, put together an application, and keep you informed about the ever-changing Minnesota cannabis landscape. Are you ready to add North Star to your team? Visit northstarlaw.com/cannabis and let North Star Law Group guide you through confidently opening your doors. Again, that's northstarlaw.com/cannabis. Are you a social equity applicant trying to save money on LED grow lights? Then here's some good news for you. You could get up to 75% off your lighting project, covered entirely by rebates, when you team up with a local nonprofit, Center for Energy and Environment. Since 2000, CEE has provided free energy consulting to Xcel Energy customers throughout Minnesota. Their team of lighting experts will help you get the highest rebates possible and take care of the paperwork so you don't have to. Starting a grow operation can be overwhelming, so take advantage of this free support from CEE. Go to mncee.org/GrowLED to sign up for your free consultation and find out how much you can save with lighting rebates. Again, that's mncee.org/GrowLED. Go get signed up today. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Northern Lights. I'm your host, Tanner, joined today by Steve and Jordan. Hey, guys.
Hey, Tanner. How you doing?
I'm here.
Right. It's been a week. Jordan, how are you doing?
Excellent. Excited to get into the nonsense that is happening.
I love Jordan's perspective here.
I feel like I know nothing about any. Like, you guys are my news source for a lot of this stuff. I'm the camera guy. I'm the lights guy. And so I like to lean into the everyman bit, like, oh wait, what's that mean, Tanner? Oh, Steve, can you clarify? Like, I hope that I can be a good in-studio representation of the listening audience if they are maybe closer to me in my understanding of current legislative.
Real life version of that at home is my wife, who I make listen to me talk about all this stuff, and she described it this week as it feels like the Real Housewives are running the OCM, and yeah, that feels spot on.
I think we've got a show title today, Real Housewives of OCM.
There we go. Well, so we've got a bunch of news that we're going to talk about today. We've got some updates in Minneapolis and Duluth that we're going to be digging into. We've got some updates out of Vireo, one of the medical producers here in the state, and some potential strike coming up.
Yeah, that one's interesting. I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, we've got some changing habits of U of M students, no longer consuming as much alcohol, now consuming a bit more cannabis. And then we've also got a ton of breaking news that we're gonna jump into that's come out in just the last few hours. A little bit later, we've got an interview with Sean Kieran of North Star Law Group. Steve, that was a really great conversation. I'm excited for people to
hear a little bit more about that one.
Super dope conversation with Sean Paul. And it was fun just to connect right from the beginning there. I met Sean back in April when he was brand new to North Star Law Group. Yeah. And I think that was the first event was Canna Connect 4. And the North Star Law Group team was there. Great event, fun time. And I can tell Sean's energy from the moment I met him was bright. Mm-hmm. And I learned so much about him on the episode today.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. So definitely stick around for that one. We'll be sampling some products today. We'll have some Tanner's Chirp tasting, and then, of course, the high note at the end.
It's a jam-packed episode. We got a little bit of housekeeping to get through first.
Exactly. So let's jump into that. People who subscribe to our YouTube page, subscribe to our podcast. If you don't yet, go do that right now. You probably got notified that we had 2 episodes or videos, audio drop between the last episode that we had and this recording.
So we've had 3 episodes in the last week.
Exactly. A lot of content. We encourage people to listen to all of it and stay up to date. But definitely be sure to listen back to that emergency episode that we did on Tuesday, right when the notifications were sent out about social equity applicants, 2/3 of them being removed from that lottery.
We had Marcus Harkis and John Barty join us.
Yep. And you.
Oh, yeah. But I really enjoyed that dynamic. And putting us on Zoom was a good call.
Yeah, it was the first episode of Northern Lights I got to do in my living room. So that was a cool one. We also got another episode people should go check out. It was actually a recording from the Office of Cannabis Management. They gave some updates on that grant program, the Can Grow and the Can Renew programs, both managed by the OCM. People should go listen to that to hear if maybe their business, their organization qualifies to get some of that money or what that money can be used for here in the state.
But Tanner, I got some other news.
Yeah? What up?
You see these devices?
So I was wondering why you're putting those on the table today. Yeah, I know the Storks and Bickle Mighty, the Crafty, and the
now
Venti.
We got the Venti.
Yeah, I actually don't know that one.
I've only seen this product. I haven't quite used it yet. I'd love to do it on the show at some point. Maybe we could, test out some flower with it. If you're a brand that's got flower, we'd love to see it. Minnesota flower, Minnesota grown. But I'm sort of burying the lead. I've been wanting to give these devices away for a while, like a couple months. And I've been trying to figure out what the best way we could do maybe a raffle.
Okay.
And I think we finally came to an agreement that the Minnesota Cannabis College is hosting a party on December 20th. It's really a Northern Lights holiday party, right?
For sure.
But we're using the Minnesota Cannabis College as a nonprofit to raise money and give away these devices to the raffle ticket winners. So no piñata this year, but we are giving away 3 Stores and Pickle devices. They're worth combined value of over $1,000, and we're selling raffle tickets at the Dabbler Depot. That's the Dabbler Depot Seed and Sesh, 951 Payne Avenue, and the Dabbler Depot Minneapolis location in South Minneapolis. We'll have raffle tickets available starting today. We're making it happen. We're getting it out there. And we want you to support the Dabbler Depot and also support the Minnesota Cannabis College through a great partner like Stores and Bickle. And it's all coming together through Clean Green Media.
Yeah, very cool, man. I saw those sitting on the table and was like, oh, we get to open some new devices today, maybe try them out. But I guess we'll let someone else give them a try and take them home. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I have the Mighty Plus. I've been loving using that one. I've used other vapes in the past before and was blown away by how much vapor that produces, just how high quality it feels.
Right.
I'm a fan. So say those details again for people who maybe didn't listen, maybe you missed it the first time. We're throwing a Northern Lights holiday party.
That's right. 24 days of dabbling, brought to you by the Minnesota Cannabis College and Dabbler Depot. It's December 20th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come here. We won't be recording. It'll be a party atmosphere at the Dabbler Depot Seed and Sesh, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., December 20th, right before the holidays. It's going to be awesome. We've seen events kind of popping up in the first half of December. This is more of a holiday party. We want people to dress up, be festive, bring cookies, make your own cookies, bring them to the Dabbler Depot. Let's have a seed and a sesh.
All right. I like that. That sounds fun. So December 20th, people can check that out. They can go get their raffle tickets at the Seed and Sesh Payne Avenue or at the 28th location of the Dabbler Depot.
Yeah, we'll get some flyers together. We'll get some posters up. It's going to be a great time.
Very cool. Well, looking forward to seeing all of you, everyone watching and listening right now, at that party. That'll be a fun time.
We'll see you on December 20th.
All right. Well, so with that being said, with people now notified about our emergency episodes, that recording, the holiday party, looking forward to that one. Should we jump into the news?
Let's jump right in.
Yeah, we should tell people we got our show notes. Normally they're just like a few pages long. This was, we're coming up to about 10 pages of information. So strap in for an information-packed episode, but we're going to make it fun. Ever felt like running a cannabis business means running in circles just to get basic banking? Union Bank and Trust gets it. They've been helping cannabis businesses for over 10 years, solving problems like securing accounts, managing cash flow, and navigating regulations. No more jumping through hoops, no more runarounds. Just straightforward banking solutions built on trust, integrity, and performance. That's unionbankandtrust.com. And we're going to start by sharing a little bit about an update on the lottery and the social equity applicants. We're not going to cover the whole detail about what happened. Go back and listen to that emergency episode. It's a good one. You should check it out.
Absolutely.
But we wanted to share a statement from our friend Jen at North Star Law Group that she put out in her newsletter. We'll drop a link to that newsletter so people can subscribe. But I think it really does a great job of summarizing the current state of where we're all at.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories to be told as
Yeah.
it relates to the social equity applicants.
Exactly. So I'm going to be reading verbatim. It says, OCM told MinPost that a lot of the rejected applicants are zone flooders or predatory applicants or who do not meet the letter of the law around ownership requirements and expectations. However, it was quickly obvious that while some denials probably fit that category, and good on OCM for weeding them out, there were significant numbers of people who were denied who did not fit that description. North Star has since collected the stories of 36 social equity applicants who received terse, frustrating denials, and we know that there are more. Some made small errors in their application, like inadvertently leaving one question blank or submitting an empty cap table. Others, however, did nothing wrong. For example, they failed to supply a trade name registration because they were applying as a sole proprietor. Or in one case, OCM provided the link to apply at what was actually OCM's test site, and denied the application received there with no contact since August 12th. And that's sort of where we're at. You know, I think it's very clear for people that have been watching this that there might have been some fumbles along the way as this entire process was rolled out.
At least two, with that test site. That was the latest story to drop. I think that came out as we're recording like yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Hours,
so now continuing on with that story, because it's been an evolving thing over the past 24 hours, and you guys, in fact, on Tuesday, listening to this or later in the week, might know more than we do right now, but let's talk about what's coming up.
What's coming up on Tuesday?
Yeah, so that
the day we're here. It's Tuesday.
Yeah, so you're listening right now. It's Tuesday. That social equity lottery is happening today at 11 a.m. OCM came out and surprised everyone, saying, nope, it's not that first week of December, like I think many imagined, but instead they've moved it forward. Everyone has been notified. We can now review the first batch of 282 social equity applicants.
I wish there was
11
a
a.m.
roster. I wish this was video games now. We could see them in each of their categories.
Yeah.
It would create like a betting market.
It honestly would. And what's very interesting to me is there was some discussion about how is OCM going to get this information out to people. I said on the podcast, I think that they're just going to post it online. It's going to be like a website upload.
Right.
We now know it's going to be live streamed on OCM's YouTube page.
But I had a question about that.
Yeah.
What details are they going to share on that live stream? They're not sharing the names of the license people, as I understood it.
So that's what we're still trying to figure out. I think they will be saying the licenses that were awarded, perhaps just by application number. Mezzo 243 wins it.
Yeah. That would make sense.
But yeah, it will be very interesting to see. So it says some limited data about the successful applicants, such as their locations, might be made available.
Huh.
So more to come.
Wow. You must be so excited.
I'm very, very excited. There has been months of effort, years of planning built up to the idea of having a social equity round of the lottery. And we're now, it's Friday right now as we're recording. We're less than, 4 days out from that first round of people knowing.
I really am getting NCAA basketball tournament vibes. It's like Tuesday, Tuesday. They're moving fast. We're
Yep.
gonna have champions crowned.
Oh, very, very, very true. Unless, of course, we have some things that stop that. Continuing to evolve this story after OCM had sent emails out to people telling them, hey, expect that Tuesday morning we're going to have that lottery. You can go online and watch it. We had our first lawsuit drop regarding OCM.
Wow.
So we're responding to this sort of live. We've got the document here. It was posted to the state's website just about yesterday evening. So we're still reading through it. But in essence, what happened is we have 2 applicants that applied, each as individuals. The OCM denied their application, saying that their cap tables weren't complete, perhaps implying that there were other people that were involved with the business that weren't listed on the cap table.
Sure.
And these 2 individuals are saying, no, I applied as myself. There's nobody else on there. You are denying my application sort of for no reason.
Now, one question I have around cap tables.
Yeah.
If you're a sole proprietor, if there's only one person in your business, with the respect to what we're talking about, did they need to file a cap table that said Tanner Barris, 100% owner?
For sure. Yeah. So we do know that they had to file that cap table. Everyone was required to fill out the application that OCM provided, which cap table was a required part of it. What these people are asking is, or excuse me, what was referenced in Jen's letter is like, do people have to go through the entire process of registering, setting up LLCs, all of that to be able to open a business?
Yeah.
Perhaps not. So these people each submitted their cap tables with themselves as 100% owners. And OCM reached back out and said, we did our record review, and alas, you're not that owner.
One thought I had as this story developed was, could OCM deem folks that were planning to operate their business like that as means for dismissal? Like, could they judge them for doing that and say, no, we're not going to pass your application?
I think OCM is sort of figuring out live on the fly what they're doing to these applications. If it was an incomplete application where maybe not enough information was provided, it appears as though OCM should have sent deficiency notices to those applicants, letting them know, hey, we need more information from you to explain this.
Yeah.
However, we now know that they only sent out 300 deficiency notices, but then rejected 1,200 applications. So there are clearly applications that were what appears to be on the outside materially deficient,
Right.
but that never received those notices. And there is, I'll be honest, one very damning statement in this complaint. Now, we want to note that this is something that someone filed. It's sort of their opinion that they filed, but I want to read this directly from here. Remarkably, plaintiffs have learned that OCM has, in fact, offered a right to appeal to some applicants. Plaintiffs are aware that at least one applicant was able to obtain reversal denial by contacting Director Briner. The applicant emailed Director Briner, who forwarded the email to Chief Regulatory Officer Zappa. Mr. Zappia then called the applicant and told him the decision would be reversed. A short time later, a denial decision for this applicant was reversed. So apparently, and I don't mean to sound like the conspiracy theorist here, but if this turns out to be true, that appeal process is available. You just have to know the director.
At the right time.
Yep. So this is all very new. This was just available to us this morning. We're still sort of responding to this live and in the moment. People are going to be listening 48 hours removed from when any of this came out, perhaps even longer than that. So please give us grace if we're responding to this and making statements that have so far proven to not be true. But if what was filed in this lawsuit is correct, that's a really, really bad look for OCM.
You said damning. Yeah, that's really weighing on me in this case because they only have to make one mistake in order for things to change.
Yep. So let's talk about a mistake that they made. So published in the Star Tribune, continuing to evolve, right? We've got a story of Ryan Appleby. Ryan Appleby is an Army veteran, a current National Guardsman, and owner of Book Fermentary and Taproom.
Yeah, I've met Ryan at Booch in
Booch, thank you.
No worries. It's in that sweet spot of the Northeast area.
Yeah.
Where, you've got Indeed and Earl Giles, and then Booch, and it used to be. We used to have hemp events there. It was
very cool.
It was a cidery. Yeah,
I love that. So
Booch bought it, and they've had plans to be cannabis forward since the beginning.
Yeah.
Before it was Booch, 2020. It was the first time there was ever a cannabis beverage bar. Jason Dayton organized a pop-up bar that was like 22.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was end of 22, like 2 years ago. So we've been doing hemp beverages in places like Booch for about 2 years.
Wow. Well, so Ryan comes to this with that experience, with that background. He was, again, I'm reading from Nuggets, the Star Tribune newsletter.
Yeah, shout out to Nuggets.
A message reviewed by the Minnesota Star Tribune sent to them included a link to a functional test version of the OCM's application system rather than the official website. Appleby was allowed to file his application for free approval for a micro business license, and he received a confirmation email informing him that it was submitted successfully. On Wednesday, however, Appleby received a notice that his application was rejected because it was submitted to the wrong site.
A test site.
A test site.
Like a dev site in a sense.
Yeah. So OCM is aware of this. OCM spokesman Josh Collins came out and said they're not clear how this happened. We're aware that it happened to 2 individuals across the state of Minnesota, but unfortunately their applications are not valid because they were not submitted through the official licensing system.
That is just such a technicality and a mistake at the same time.
Yeah, but don't worry. To quote Josh Collins, these individuals will have the opportunity to apply in the next round of applications.
Hey, never stop. Just keep moving.
Yeah, it's been a really tough week for me personally. I have been a long supporter of the Office of Cannabis Management, of Charlene, of the work that they're doing. They've been using language that has been equity forward since the get-go. And I've been really impressed by that. They've really put in work to try to make sure that community is represented and involved. I'm not the kind of person that tries to come out and like point fingers at government employees and say, you're doing a bad job. As a former government employee myself, I respect the people who do the work to make sure that our government functions. I do want to say, though, I think in this case, we were sort of let down. I think they dropped the ball, and the ways that they're seeking to repair that are just not enough.
They came out really hard.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I think makes it really tough for me. People can go back and listen to the emergency podcast, hear me talk
Please
about
do.
it.
It's one of our best.
Yeah, it's a good one. But to have OCM come out the day after sending out 1,200 notices after failing 2/3 of their class to say, yeah, I mean, you guys had the test answers. This is sort of on you. And then to have so many cases come out where, no, it's actually not on them. This is on you, Charlene. This is on you, OCM. These are times where, due to mistake, due to fault, due to whatever, the ball was dropped. And it's not up to us as individual citizens to have to make up for the mistakes made by our government.
The trust was broken.
Yeah.
I'm tired of sports analogies, and I'm guilty of them. Like, this is not sports. This is careers. This is livelihoods, opportunities. Yeah. And we have folks that have been, we know folks in the space that have been questioning the OCM for a long time.
For sure.
And now we have strong legal professionals in our space that are coming out to the press, bringing awareness to their clients' issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand where the disappointment is.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people say that lawsuits like this is delaying the process, especially for the people that put in so much effort and energy into their application to make it through the process, to get an email, hey, congratulations, you did what you needed to. You're going to be part of this lottery. I've had people say to me, you're just holding up the process. We need this to move forward. And yeah, they dropped the ball, but that's a government. Get them next time. I think that's wholly missing the mark of this was a social equity round designed to take people that were harmed by governmental actions and to give them a route to find cure, to find at least some relief from that. And yet again, we have the exact same government that has imposed cannabis prohibition for decades, now cutting social equity applicants out of the very system that was designed for them to succeed. I'm disappointed. And I think, I've had friends reach out to me this week and say, give OCM a chance. And I hear them. I do want to give, and I'm waiting to get more information from the state, from other actors, just to figure out what happened. But from what we know now,
Yeah.
I'm
There's
let down.
Yes, there's absolute, yeah. I think we can end it right there, and we'll take a quick break. But we're seeing alignment, or there's alignment now between legal professionals, which I have yet to see across the spectrum of groups and people in this space. But then I'm also noticing entitlement on the side of, I didn't receive a deficiency notice, so you shouldn't, you shouldn't care about this, or you should get them next time. When we know, I mean, here's a provocative question. How did we know there was 1,169 no's or denials? I mean, it seems like I was at a networking event last night at Modest, and they were wondering, how did MinPost get leaked all of this information? Because it aired through MinPost.
Yeah.
Debuted in print.
Yeah. So we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about all the rest of the news that's happening across the state of Minnesota, across our country, because guys, it was a busy week, and we're sticking around to break it all down for you. So stick around, and we'll be right back. Ready to kick off your home grow? We've got the perfect hookup for you. MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. They've got everything from fast flowering strains to unique hybrids, all ready for growing in Minnesota. And guess what? Our listeners get an exclusive deal. Use the code NL10 for a 10% discount on your entire order. Don't miss out and get started with the best seeds. Start your growth strong with MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Remember, NL10 for 10% off at MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Grab your seeds today. So it's another month, which means it's time for another Seed of the Month with Natural Harvest. Casey, we're super happy to have you here back in the studio.
Hey, Tanner. Thanks for having me back. Great to be here.
Yeah, so it's November, which means it's time for another Seed of the Month. Now, just before we jump into what the actual Seed of the Month is, tell us a little bit about who Natural Harvest is. We were stoked to have you on the show just a couple weeks back. For people who maybe missed that, who is Natural Harvest?
Thanks. Yeah, Natural Harvest, we're a local seed bank here based in Minnesota. We ship countrywide, but our focus is on the Minnesota market.
Very cool. And you're a cultivator yourself, right? You're a home grower here in Minnesota?
I am. Many years ago when I was in college, grew quite a bit, took a back seat for many years. And then certainly, as the legalization came, it was kind of counting down the days until I was able to again.
I love that. Yeah, a study that came out from the state of Minnesota said that almost a quarter of cannabis consumers are growing at home in Minnesota, which I think is incredible. Shout out to home growers across the state.
No doubt. That's awesome. I mean, we go to events all over the place and we see tons of people, and it's amazing how many people are interested. And I think really going back, right, indoor growing has kind of always been the focus here in Minnesota. We have such limited time that, it's always been there. It's just, now it's out in the open.
Exactly. Now we're able to talk about it. Now you're able to have subscription services delivering genetics. I think that's pretty cool. So on that point, we talked about this a little bit on the show when you were on, but tell us about this subscription plan you have and how people can get genetics to their front door.
Sure. Yeah, we have 3 different plans. The Harvest Hero is our kind of top end box. It's $60 a month plus shipping. Budding Grower is $35 a month, and then our introductory plan, the Seedling Starter, is $15 a month.
Awesome. Very cool. So no matter where you're looking to enter in, you can get seeds delivered right to your door, ready to start growing.
Yeah, and it gives you a really good opportunity, whether you're new and not really sure where to go, right? There's thousands of options out there. So it's kind of a no-brainer, here's what you get, versus, even seasoned growers, right? It's something new and different and fun to try, and you don't have to, put a lot of effort into it. Let us do the hard part.
I love that. So let's get to it. It's November. What is the seed of the month that we got going into this month?
Yeah, super excited about this one. This month is Slurricane.
Okay.
So it's a cross between Do-Si-Do and Purple Punch.
Awesome. 2 classic cultivars. Purple Punch is a really fun one. I had a friend who grew a cross that had some of that in the lineage and definitely came through. You could see that purple. It was really a treat.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm really excited to see how it turns out for people. I haven't grown any of it myself, but I did recently do do-si-do outside over the summer that's drying right now.
Okay.
So super excited about that.
How's it smelling? I know you said it's drying now, but sort of the early initial thoughts of it?
Oh, it smells great. Yeah, I'm really excited. So.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm excited for people to get that box in the mail, to get those genetics into soil, into cocoa, however people are growing, and just get that growing across Minnesota. So people are looking to sign up for that. Maybe they aren't yet signed up for your subscription plan. Where can they go to get themselves up for that?
Sure. MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com.
Awesome. And MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com, that's what you said?
MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com.
I love that. Awesome. Go check that out today. You can get signed up, get those genetics right to your front door, and start growing. I'm really looking forward to that one. I've never grown slurricane ever before in my tent, and this feels like a good excuse to maybe give it a go.
Try something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Casey, thank you so much for coming in the studio today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to have you back next month to see what seeds people can be getting delivered.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, so Steve, that was a lot of talking about the Office of Cannabis Management, everything going on with the lottery. There was a lot else that happened in Minnesota this week. Let's go ahead and break that down.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. So the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board, their current policy allows the use of cannabis in parks, but it might change next year under a new proposal put out.
Yeah.
And they're looking for public input.
Yeah, so as of right now, and I got to be honest, sort of surprised to learn this. In Minneapolis parks, you're not allowed to smoke tobacco. That's currently banned because there's a rule that specifically says no smoking tobacco.
Yes.
But there's no rule that says specifically no smoking.
Yes. I remember learning about this loophole on the Northern Lights podcast, like listening to you and Marcus talk about policy around Minneapolis.
Absolutely. So Minneapolis has now circled around and said, all right, we've passed our zoning ordinance. We've sort of figured out what we're doing on the business side. Let's have the parks sort of check in and figure out what is the policy that we want to have for people as they're consuming cannabis. Sales will be available next year, knock on wood. And, people will be going out and looking to consume cannabis out in public. What does it look like if you're in Minneapolis? Well, we got our first little hint of what that might look like this week.
Right on. And I love that they're working on this in November, going into the end of the year. It's like, they're not really too worried about parks. Parks are kind of on the low for the next few months. And so, let's jump into it.
Yeah. So as people can probably expect, the Minneapolis Park Board is coming out and seeking to prevent people from smoking cannabis or vaping THC in any park.
This sucks. Like I'm bummed.
Yeah. I got to be honest. As someone who enjoys going to the park and smoking up a joint or hitting the pen or whatever, I was personally disappointed to see this. Now, I will say I'm glad that the enforcement mechanism behind this rule is that they can come over and ask you to leave or ask you to stop.
Okay. That's nice.
And so the likelihood that this will escalate into a criminal penalty is low, but it is still technically possible. You can get a disorderly conduct citation if you refuse to leave the park.
Sure.
So still not ideal. In fact, they're evaluating whether they want this to be an ordinance, which would make it perhaps a criminal penalty if people refused, or a policy, in which case, the park police is going to say, knock it off. They're going to ask you to stop. And if you don't, then come on, man. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
We're in a park. Everyone's enjoying it. That mom over there asked you to stop. We're asking you to stop. Just stop.
I'm envisioning a guy or girl who brought their bong to the park.
Yeah, totally.
And he just keeps packing a bowl.
Yeah, I could see the park not being cool with that. What I could see the park being cool with, however, is someone walking through and hitting their vape pen every so often and not bothering people around them, because that's not going to cause a bunch of people to come over and ask you to stop, just like it hasn't been for decades of people smoking in parks.
I mean, I would really like Minneapolis to go that route with this and not make it an ordinance.
Yeah.
And that would be a couple of nice moves in a row for Minneapolis to sort of come back towards a little more cannabis friendly of a city.
Yeah. Yeah, so one thing that people can consider if they're looking to provide feedback, we're not telling you you have to or what to say, but if you would like to comment on the fact that we shouldn't have people potentially charged with a crime for smoking cannabis in a park,
right?
That might be one thing that you could comment on. That's probably a pretty good point to make. The other thing that Minneapolis is considering is not just on the consumption of cannabis in parks, but actually the sale of cannabis in parks.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to get into this one. So, a second proposal would regulate the sale of THC edibles and beverages on park board land by authorized vendors, like vendors that we know, small businesses, and during events at these parks. And it would cap the potency of edibles. But I mean, we're talking about 5 milligrams, which is pretty standard right now.
Yeah.
I guess it would be more of a low dose opportunity.
Totally. Here's what I was thinking of. Did you go to Pride this year at all? Twin Cities Pride?
I heard about what they did.
Yeah, so they had a little cannabis alley, but it wasn't in the park. It was actually on the street outside of the park because you can sell cannabis there, but in the park, not allowed.
Was it on the street, like within Loring Park?
No, it was like right off of like you step out of the park.
Yeah.
You're walking in the street and then you cross over and there's the cannabis area.
Oh, interesting.
This would change it so that low potency hemp edibles could be sold perhaps at Twin Cities Pride or other types of events that are held in Minneapolis parks.
And there are so many Minneapolis parks.
There are so many. And so many events that people want to be consuming THC at.
Wow.
Now, one thing that I did find really interesting is technically people wouldn't be allowed to consume above 5 milligram edibles in a park.
They wouldn't be allowed to consume them.
Yeah, so the rule would be if you're eating edibles or drinking an edible beverage in a park, it has to follow that 5 milligram per serving hemp-derived rule. If I have, for example, a year from now, we have stores open, I buy my adult use chocolate bar with 100 milligrams, 10 milligrams per serving.
Yeah.
Technically, under this rule, you're not supposed to eat that in the park.
So, like, I could probably take edibles next year, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to take edibles next year.
It maybe not in the park itself.
That's
yeah,
right.
so
sorry, that's silly.
I know. Especially as we're going to have licensed adult use cannabis events, perhaps held in Minneapolis parks.
Oh yeah.
I would love to see some changes.
Maybe just not restrict the consumption.
Yeah.
But are they saying that the products purchased from the park vendors couldn't be consumed on site?
No, so these would be for on-site consumption.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just saying that if there was a vendor who's selling it through the park, they would have to keep to that 5 milligram cap.
I see. So the new brands, the new businesses are I think dispensaries are going to be behind locked doors. It's like, very Zaza cannabis-like, unfortunately. So
here's the one thing that I thought was really interesting from this. If this sticks exactly as it is, this might be one of those carve-outs for the people that have been saying hemp will stick around in adult use, which I'm questioning. But I think stuff like this could really solidify that if we have places like parks where adult use, not allowed. Hemp?
Yeah.
Come on in.
Okay, we can have Summit beer at the park.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have Grey Duck vodka at the park.
I suppose, yeah.
That's how I would feel comfortable with that. I think hemp 5 milligram, I think we all know in this room that it doesn't like completely mess you up. Like 5 milligram drink, it doesn't like do crazy things to you. So I think it's similar to beer.
Yeah. Well, so that was an interesting one out of Minneapolis. We'll put the link where people can go and provide feedback. If they're interested in going and providing your public comment, definitely do that. But let's talk about another city.
Let's talk about Duluth.
So Duluth did a while ago ban cannabis smoking in their parks and are now doing the opposite of Minneapolis, where they figured out the smoking, now are trying to figure out the business side. Minneapolis already has that covered. Well, so Duluth introduced their ordinance to regulate how cannabis businesses are going to be regulated within the city of Duluth. And I got to be honest, they're going to be regulated pretty similar to most other businesses in the city. Okay. There's been some ordinances that have come out that I think are pretty low quality. This is one that I think is pretty middle of the line. It follows the cap written in statute. It doesn't put any unreasonable restrictions between shops or schools or whatever. It's a pretty fine policy. But there are two things that I wanted to pull out that I thought were really interesting, because every city is sort of that lab of democracy, figuring out how will cannabis look. Two things that how it will look in Duluth.
Are you talking about compliance?
Absolutely. So let's say you wanted to hold an event in Duluth. Steve, you've been known to hold cannabis events before. I've been to some of them.
Yes.
They're pretty fun. And if you wanted to hold one in Duluth, you wanted people to be able to sell adult use products at that event.
Yeah.
The city of Duluth is saying that can only be held at the Bayfront Festival Park.
I'm really glad you started with this because I wasn't sure if you were going to mention it.
Yeah.
I think it's been a question of where do they smoke in Duluth, and that's been a point of contention. And they're just being like, okay, we know we have great events here. We have a tourism, income stream in Duluth, and we have a great beer scene.
Yeah.
And so they're pulling on their past experiences and being like, we're going to concentrate it to one area. But you know what they did? They allowed concentrates in Bayfront Festival Park.
Absolutely. I'm excited to go to my first festival at Bayfront.
Yeah. I mean, I can already see Legacy Glassworks, Legacy Cannabis with Bent Paddle, summer 2025. It's coming.
So it's a really interesting approach to regulation. I personally don't like this approach, but I think it's at least a step forward, testing it out. I think there might be people who have shops in Duluth, people that we might know,
Right.
who want to hold cannabis festivals, and they're now being told, if you want to do it in Duluth, here is where you do it.
But they're also saying, like, we know it works here.
It's true. Yeah, no, that's very true. And it will be nice to have a festival area with the infrastructure needed to host events already sort of set aside and earmarked specifically as cannabis. Good to go.
As long as you haven't changed ownership structure.
Yeah, so that's the other part of this. So we see every city trying to figure out, how do we have our own little hand on regulation? Maybe it's through temporary or permanent use approval. We've seen a lot of different ways.
How do we keep tabs?
Exactly. So people should know, if you have more than a 10% ownership in a cannabis business, the state of Minnesota already knows about that. But Duluth is really interested in who owns businesses in their town. So they require you to file any person who owns at least 5% or more of your business. And then anytime there is any shift in ownership structure, maybe like, Steve, you chipped $100 into the business, so we're going to give you another 2% equity.
We're talking about just cannabis businesses in this case?
Just cannabis businesses. You need to notify the city. Any change, even the most minor change, will force the city to do another inspection, go through the entire licensing process, and that is all paid for by the applicant themselves, the business.
Right. Okay, so, these two guys start a cannabis business.
Yep.
They start to have some success. They sell some of their equity in the company.
Yep.
They've now changed their ownership structure.
Yep.
If they come back to Duluth, even though they've done an event in Duluth, they're going to have to pay for that compliance check.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. This is even if you hold a cannabis license and you're selling products out of your store. If you have a retail front and you shift ownership slightly,
If you're a
You go through the
manufacturing
entire
company
review
in
process.
Duluth
Yeah.
and you've got a recreational cannabis license in the state of Minnesota,
Yep.
it applies to all license types taking place in Duluth. These
Yeah.
businesses that are taking place in Duluth.
yeah. So it's an interesting one. So two things that I just wanted to flag that Duluth is doing that are a little bit different than other cities. We've seen other cities restrict where events can be. We've seen other cities try to keep tabs on things, but this is a unique Duluth, keep it weird way of regulating cannabis.
Hey, if they're anticipating that, changing business structure means you're making more money, they're looking to make a little more money.
I suppose. Well, speaking of people looking to make a little bit more money,
Hey, let's talk about Vireo.
let's talk about Vireo. Now, people in Minnesota probably know Vireo more by the name of Green Goods. It's a retailer throughout the state of Minnesota. You probably know them as Vireo Solutions back in the day. They've been a couple different names, but
Vireo Growth.
yeah, exactly. The reason that we're talking about them today is that we could very soon here see some really interesting action out of that company, specifically their employees in the result of a strike.
Yeah, we saw this drop on Reddit. Shout out to the MN Trees community. And I think this is really interesting given that Vireo operates with a union and, the ties to Union Bank. And I'm just like understanding more this season about Vireo or Green Goods. And, they've gotten into the hemp space. They're preparing, it appears, to be growing more in anticipation for 2025 and opening more dispensaries. And their employees want more money.
Yep, absolutely. So they've been in negotiations for a couple months now. We're coming up to a point where they're reaching the end of their contract. After their last meeting that they had, which was, November 21st, so the day before we recorded this podcast. We should say that.
Shout out to the Northern Lights podcast.
Yeah. There was some updates where the contract was extended to December 6th. So we have that new sort of date in the sand of when, if we don't have an agreement by then, we could see the employees take actions to strike.
Wow.
So
Okay.
what does that proposal look like as of right now? Vireo came back to the employees and offered them a couple different things. One is a wage increase of 3% for the top scales and an increase to the scales. Now, employees have come out and said, for some of this, that's like a 30-cent per hour raise.
Yeah.
That's sort of not super meaningful. They have said that they're going to increase the production scale to go up to $18 per hour, because right now, if you start, you're making $16.40 an hour.
Yeah, you're making $16.40 an hour at a. I mean, I get that they're a small business, but man, do they
operate
hold?
in 3 states, so
Yeah.
They plan to maintain that employer healthcare contributions, which is definitely important. As of right now, Rise, the dispensary in Minnesota, you can tip your bud tender at.
Okay.
At Green Goods, they can actually get fired if they accept tips from people.
Wow.
Yeah. So this contract is allowing them to accept tips, but they're not allowed to put out a tip jar until adult use rolls out.
Yeah, I'm seeing that in my head. Like I'm thinking back to from what we've heard in the early days, and we just got flower a couple of years ago here, right?
Yeah.
So a true bud tender is more of a proper term. As a medical company, I can understand why they were not asking for tips.
Totally. And I definitely can understand. You have a bunch of med patients come in, they're picking up their medicine, asking for a couple bucks is tough.
But this is a case where it's now much easier to get a medical card.
Yep.
And their processes and their rules that are in place as a company are outdated.
Yep.
And so they're going to their union as a group and they're saying collectively, we want things to change.
Yeah, and you can say, like, I'm not a huge fan of tip culture. I used to work at Caribou. Like, I loved the tips then.
Yeah.
But, like, I wish we had a culture that actually paid people their worth.
Yeah.
And I think if you as a company say to yourself, we are so, morally driven that we don't want to ask our med patients for tips,
Sure.
then pay your employees better.
Yeah, 1640. I mean, we're seeing better jobs advertised at fast food restaurants.
Yeah. And then the last thing is the contract is now officially added Juneteenth as a holiday. Now, I read through the proposal from Vireo. I didn't include it in the notes here, but the union had actually asked for April 20th to also be listed as an official company holiday. Company said no.
That's going to lose a lot of money.
A lot of money. Yeah, unfortunately, if we're closed on 420, what are we doing? I don't know. But yeah, definitely a shout out to the union. Local 1189, they're doing good work, and we need people that are growing the weed, that are processing the weed, that are selling the weed, that are getting this product to people, being able to go home and afford housing and food. And
Yeah, at this time, we have a chance to bring on board a new industry. Let's bring people with us and not just focus on the bottom line. And
yeah, so shout out to UFCW if you want to come on our podcast.
yeah,
We'd love to have you.
we'd love to learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. So people should keep watching that. That's another one of these evolving stories that we keep talking about today that you guys probably don't know more than we do yet, but will very, very soon. So definitely keep watching that. We'll put a link to the union's website in our show notes. You can read that most recent update and then also follow along for new updates. Man, that's going to be a busy show notes this week.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Northern Lights is brought to you by Dabbler Depot THC. With 3 Twin Cities locations, Dabbler Depot is proud to deliver expert knowledge, finely crafted products from gummies and seltzers to grow tents and nutrients, as well as a one-of-a-kind cannabis shopping experience to all levels of enthusiasts, growers, and the canna curious. Their East Side St. Paul store, Seed and Sesh, is also the happy home of the podcast you're listening to right now. So be sure to stop by every Friday between 2 and 4 p.m. to get a live look at your favorite cannabis podcast being recorded. On top of that, you're also welcome to come to the Seed and Sesh every Tuesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. for their home grower meetup night. Come hang out and get connected with the ever-growing cannabis community here in the Twin Cities. Dabbler Depot's Seed and Sesh can be found at 951 Payne Avenue, St. Paul. Their flagship store is located at 1545 West 7th Street, St. Paul, and their South Minneapolis location is at 4152 South 28th Street, right across the street from the Baker's Wife Bakery. Or you can shop online, DabblerDepotTHC.com. Dabbler Depot THC, growing plants, growing community. Northern Lights is brought to you by the Winter Beer Dabbler, Minnesota's premier craft beer festival. The winter weather will be upon us before we know it, which means the best beer party of the year is getting closer and closer. Join your fellow hardy Minnesotans at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds on February 22nd, 2025 from 3 to 6:30 p.m. and enjoy unlimited samples from hundreds of breweries, cideries, and other yummy libation creators. With general admission, early access, and designated driver tickets available, there is an opportunity for everyone in your crew to have a brew-induced blast. For tickets and more information, you can visit beerdabbler.com/festivals. Winter Beer Dabbler. So, Minnesota. And we're back. So, Steve, I got one more piece of news that I want to talk about today. We're not even touching the federal farm bill that came out that could potentially blow up the entire national hemp-derived THC industry.
There's a new draft of a farm bill.
Yeah, it's the draft that came out would ban anything that is above 0.3% THC, including THCA. So all the flower, all the cannabinoids, all that stuff out of here.
Yeah,
We're going to say that for next time. We're also not going to talk about today the lawsuit that was filed that could potentially change the makeup of the Minnesota House. There's a House member that potentially could be losing their seat if that lawsuit goes through, changing the House from a split control to Republican control. We're going to save all of that for a future episode because we've had a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today. And instead, what I want to talk about is a study that came out about the U of M.
Shout out to the MN Daily.
Yeah, absolutely. Minnesota Daily, one of my favorite, no longer daily newspapers, but still an incredible paper. They published the results that came out of a Boynton Health report that looked at the college students of this year, asking, what are you guys doing? Are you guys doing drugs?
Are you doing less?
Are you drinking?
Doing more?
What are you doing? And the results have come out, and not necessarily surprising in the way that they changed, but I think in the numbers that they changed.
Oh.
So high-risk drinking among University of Minnesota students, which is drinking more than five or more alcoholic beverages in one sitting.
That was common when I was in college.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wonder if it's still common today. Well, according to the U of M, it is 10% less common.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant drop. Imagine you're at that party, look around, you got 10 people there. For every 10 people, one of those people is now just gone because they're at home smoking weed.
Yes.
Yeah, so the other thing that we saw is on the opposite side, cannabis use is up roughly 9%. We've got that.
You're doing the
bit of the
math.
swap.
We're doing the math. We're seeing it in liquor stores. Guess where all these products are sold?
Where at?
Well, a lot of them are sold at liquor stores.
Yeah. We've got these students that have been going to liquor stores, seeing alcohol for a long time,
Yeah.
seeing cannabis and going, maybe I'll give it a try, and then making the switch like permanently.
Or trying it, realizing it's less dangerous, maybe preferring that as an option.
Yeah.
I
So we
love
now
it.
officially have 27% of college students, according to this report,
Okay.
have consumed cannabis of some time, whereas only 24% have had high-risk drinking activity.
More cannabis consumption than alcohol consumption.
Yeah. So very interesting.
Of high risk.
Yeah. We should clarify there is still more people drinking alcohol than smoking cannabis, but that tide is shifting.
And I love that we're seeing cannabis is not a gateway drug.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis is an alternative to alcohol.
Yeah. I've heard so many podcasts and stories from experts and documentaries and whatever, where the question is asked, if you could wave a magic wand and have everyone smoke weed instead of alcohol, would you?
Really?
And all these public health experts go, of course. Yeah, cannabis isn't healthy, but it's a sure heck of a lot better for society than alcohol is. So shout out to students for making good choices.
And shout out to the MN Daily. Let's get in touch with the U of M.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I was thinking about that trend of alcohol to THC, that shift of people going from, I'm drinking alcohol to, now I'm drinking cannabis.
Tell me more.
And it got me thinking, do I know any businesses or people who have sort of made that change from alcohol to THC? Or maybe they're still doing the alcohol, but they're exploring other ways of connecting with people around liquid libations, if you will.
Making modifications.
Yeah. And so then I got a text from you as I was sitting at my desk thinking about this, saying, brand new beverage for the podcast. And I went, oh, shit. Modest Brewing.
They're back.
Yeah. Such a great example of people on that beverage side, really deep in that craft alcohol community that saw the opportunity for cannabis and now are leaning in full strength. And I'm so excited to try these two that I just got emailed to me like yesterday. I've never seen these.
You saw the email.
Oh yeah. I'm of course subscribed to the Modest
Me
emails.
too. Me too. And as a lot of you know here, like Tanner covers the news. He keeps up with it. He understands it. He tracks it, and that's how all these episodes are made.
Appreciate that.
But for me to be able to bring fresh product while you're bringing fresh stories makes this a super fresh episode.
Super fresh, super fly. And I'm excited to jump into these. Now, I thought it was sodas, but this is pop.
This is pop. That's funny. This is a Minnesota brewery, Modest Brewing, and these are taproom exclusive until they're out in distro.
Okay, very cool.
Go over to Modest, pick up a 4-pack, tell them Andy sent you, and shout out to the whole team over at Modest.
And I love let's just jump into it. I love the design work on these melt pop cans. It's just such a fun twist on their usual melt graphics.
Yeah.
But that make it like really playful. It's sort of like, it gives me like a 90s retro vibe almost.
Very, very Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, there we go. So you brought in 2 different flavors for us to try today. The citrus punch and the sangria ginger ale.
Yeah. So I was talking to Andy about it last night when I picked these up, and they're similar to the ginger lemon lime. It's a tweak on the sangria is a nice bend on that. I think you're going to like that one.
Okay.
And then the citrus punch is reminiscent of like that blood orange vanilla, but they've tweaked the flavors ever so much to create these new product categories or these SKUs.
That's so cool. And well, let's not hide the fact. We've got some 4 Canna back there made at Modest Brewing, and these cans, they just look a little bit smaller, but we still have 10 milligrams of THC in there.
Wow. So Modest has dropped it from a 16 ounce to a 12, and they're packing the 10 milligrams in there. Yeah. I haven't seen that before. Modest was always running the big cans.
Yeah. That's a new thing. All right. We've done the talking. I want to try this. We've talked about so much news today. I'm excited to crack open a can of some melt pop and give it a go.
I am too. Honestly, I'm parched, and that was a lot of news to get through. So, shout out to Modest. Let's go. Which one do you want to start with?
All right. I want to start with the sangria ginger ale because the citrus punch, I hear that and I go, of course I'm going to like that.
Yeah.
The sangria ginger ale is generally on the side of flavors that I don't indulge in, so I'm really interested to jump into this and give it a try.
Absolutely. I haven't had this one yet, so this will be new for all three of
all right.
us.
Perfect. And Jordan, we're going to get you involved too, so make sure that you give this one a sample. Oh, we've had so many people shout out that they're just fans of ASMR, and they got turned on to the Northern Lights podcast because they just heard us, vaping in front of the microphone or our wonderful can opening sound.
One day we'll go viral on TikTok.
It's going to happen. Maybe that's the video. It's just a video of us talking about going viral. Those kids these days, they like their meta, so.
True.
Wow. Beautiful color to it. So I saw online this includes both natural and artificial flavors, so I'm expecting like a really strong flavor blast to this. I'm excited to see if that's what we get from it.
Yeah, THC infused soda with natural and artificial flavors, hemp-derived THC, and let's keep this product out of reach of children.
All right. Well,
cheers.
Guys. Let's give it a try. Wow.
That's deep.
Yeah. All right. I really, really like that. I wasn't really sure what I was going to get with that sangria, but you get like a little bit of the ginger on the back end, but that is so like flavorful.
That's an adult
Fruity
pop.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah, the ooh, froggy.
Hey.
The sweetness is perfectly sweet.
Wow.
Like it's got that kind of like soda pop type flavoring.
Oh,
not really like that white claw kind of
Yeah.
clinical sweetness. It's like it's just really well balanced in its mouthfeel and the flavors. Yeah, like you said, the ginger comes in the back and the kind of sweet, almost like berry sangria.
No cannabis taste in my mouth.
Yeah,
No,
I got
at
zero
all.
weediness. Yeah.
Yeah, for the people that tried the Northern Lights beverage and went, that tastes a bit like weed, give this one a try because that is no weed taste. But that's an incredible berry flavor is spot on. Like you get that, like
Yeah, it's there.
raspberry almost.
It's
Like
lasting too. I chugged it and I'm loving this. This is really refreshing. It's like an adult pop. I would pick these up right away. Modest has got a winner.
Yeah. Anytime I see, I'll be honest, anytime I see ale on a title, I'm not a beer drinker. So I sort of get hesitant that maybe they're playing with some of those beer notes.
Yeah.
This is a tried and true soda. Like
Yes.
this is pop.
Ginger ale.
Yeah.
But I love the name, being that they're a beer company as well, that they're able to make a THC beverage that has a title with ale.
Yeah.
It's cheeky. It's complex at the same time. Good
For
job.
sure.
I mean, it's reminiscent of like that cranberry, like Schweppes cranberry ginger ale that like, you know, you would have at Thanksgiving before you could drink wine or whatever. It was like,
Yes.
yeah, like cranberry ginger ale.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, is this going to be our Thanksgiving beverage that we bring home and try to encourage people to try?
I love that idea. Yeah. Head out this week, get your melt pop before the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Something to take the edge off on Thanksgiving.
And I'm just glad that the three of us get to go to Modest before this episode comes out so we can make sure to grab one. Oh, yeah, I'll take a little bit more, please. Thank you. Wow. This is a good one. I would definitely recommend that people check this out. And I can't believe that we're only halfway through trying these. Like, I was excited when I saw the citrus, and we haven't even gotten there yet. This is enjoyable. Wow. All right. So that melt sangria ginger ale, I would definitely go and pick that up. But I got to be honest, as I said earlier, if I walked into the Modest tap room, I saw the signs on the wall, and I got to pick one of them, I wouldn't have picked that one. I would now, but I would have picked Citrus Punch.
You know, let's throw this out there. If you're going to go shop at Modest, you can ask them for that 2-in-2 pack. You know, that Northern Lights special.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, pick up 2 citrus punches, 2 sangria ginger ales. But I guess we got to try it first.
And be sure to ask the person working at Modest for the Northern Lights special. And when they ask, what is that? Ask them, oh, do you not watch the Northern Lights podcast?
Yeah.
And then send them a link. But yeah, let's bust open the
That
Citrus Punch
420 special, 4 cans, $20,
Yeah, exactly. All right, Citrus Punch. I'm expecting something a little orangey, but also having that like fruit punch flavor to it. And I'm excited to see if this lives up to that expectation.
I love the color of the can, and now it's matching with the
Yeah, wow, spot on.
Okay, this is very orange Kool-Aid, orange soda pop kind of look to it. Like it's deep.
Yeah, it looks like it should come in like a clear plastic bottle with a...
This is more fun than their seltzers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I loved how the Northern Lights beverage tasted, but it sort of looked like raspberry water.
Right.
Which was delicious.
Yes.
But this looks like radioactive almost. Like this is really cool. All right, let's give it a sample. Salud.
Salud.
Oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. Yeah.
Not too strong.
No, you get the orangey on the front end. You get that fruit punch on the back end.
Yes, that's what I'm hearing.
It comes together.
It's smooth. What is fruit punch? It's like a combo flavor, right?
Yeah. It's actually funny that you asked that because different flavor companies have different ideas on what fruit punch is.
Sure.
And is sometimes made up of like different collections of fruit that are part of that.
Right. Yeah, I guess I have seen that.
Does it taste like pineapple a little bit? Maybe. A little bit of
A little bit.
maybe a little bit of cherry. A little bit of
orange.
yeah. Well, I would hope. All right.
I guess that's the citrus part.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot.
If people give this a try, drop in the comments below. What fruit are you tasting in this fruit punch? What about you, Jordan? What do you think?
It's like every fruit. It's just like
A through Z.
fruit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like all of them. I'm getting, like what you guys mentioned, pineapple, berry, orange, obviously.
Yeah,
but
picture like one of those lottery machines that's like spinning with cherries and then it's just all a fruit. It's that's what this tastes like. It's
A
just
lottery?
But again, it's
yeah.
super balanced.
Don't use those words. It's triggering.
Fruit lottery.
It's super balanced and nothing really dominates anything else. Like and again, that mouthfeel it's a nice, perfectly carbonated, not too fizzy, not flat at all. Like,
Yeah.
I really, really like both of these products, and I generally am pretty picky when it comes to these seltzers. So
Yeah. One thing that I've sort of been not like concerned about, but watching for is how much sugar ends up going into these beverages.
Yep.
And well, this is definitely, a little bit higher on sugar. You got 17 grams in the can. I think you're getting such a flavor for it that it feels less offensive to me because you're getting that soda. It tastes like a sugary soda, but it's really, really good.
Yeah. And on the comparison of other sodas, 17 grams is not as much as I've seen, close to 50 grams.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I know the whole hemp community has taken this approach of we got to have low sugar. And while I don't disagree with that, I also like doing that. That is way different than the beverage community takes because they don't care. They'll put whatever you need to get you to drink it.
CBD was sugar-free.
Yeah.
THC is, all day.
All day.
But yeah, again, thanks to Modest, Andy, the whole crew over there. Definitely go support their brewery.
Yeah. And you said that's a taproom exclusive, so you got to go to Modest to get it?
Yeah, Thanksgiving week, honestly, I'd go, if I was doing this over again, I'd probably go 4 sangrias.
Okay.
But the citrus punch is fun. I just like that more adult pop flavor to it.
Well, I'm headed up to Moorhead in just a couple days for our annual Thanksgiving celebration, and I'll have to swing by Modest on the way and grab a couple of those.
Grab some sangria.
There we go. Well, I think we should take a short break here. We're going to do a segment of an interview with our buddy Sean from North Star Law Group. Really awesome interview. I recommend people listen through the entire conversation, not just because Steve did the conversation, but also because it's a really awesome dig into how he got into law.
Not super cool, but gosh, what a captivating message. I mean, Sean really comes from a family perspective and trying to create change in his family. And that's what you want to see in inspiring roles like criminal defense attorneys.
Yeah, absolutely. After that, we've got Tanner's Chirp Tasting. I'm excited. We bring Kale back in. We make him do a dab. We try out some Big Cat Hash, which I'm excited to get on the show this week. It smells pretty good. And then stick around for the way end because we've got high notes. There's more. Stick around. We'll be right back.